Ravenswatch is back with a brand new update. New DLC character added, Merlin. This new update also includes massive rebalancing, so there's a lot to see here, and of course it's a great time to come back for a Zero to Hero run in Nightmare, my first ever Nightmare win. Ravenswatch is of course an action roguelike, so every run starts off in Act 1. If you've never seen Merlin before, he has multiple different abilities that's all different from any other character in Ravenswatch. He has a passive which gathers runes. We'll be using those to power up our spells. His basic attack also generates a rune of potency at the final hit of its combo. And then each of his other buttons, R2, triangle, and circle, known as power, special, and defense. Pressing 1 will give you access to 3 different spells. Nature has grasping vines, starfall, and stone shield. Special has chain lightning, fireball, and frost orb. And finally, defense has blessing, which is a regeneration, light nova, which is a stun, and then Blink, which you might know from other games, it's a teleport. Our opening talent for our first level up, we only have one thing that's higher level. Here's a look at my shop. I have one rare duplicate, a couple of talent level ups, and then one legendary, which is Vorpal Blade. This thing executes enemies when they're low on HP. The map is really giving me no information at all, just a green chest and some health shrines. With that, I should probably just take the astrology level. It's just stars of fate and then rarity of talents increased, because there's nothing I particularly need to focus on right now. We'll just take the generic options. The green chest is packed with a bunch of gremlins. These are super annoying because they have a lot of monsters in one compact place. Only some of them get stunned, and they will continue to respawn from the bigger goblins. The main way we're going to get through these is with a combination of Frost Orb that does a very good job of killing the normal monsters because it has auto tracking. We'll also be using Light Nova, which is a stun. This causes the small ones to knock over, and then the big ones, you can see their stagger meter increasing a little bit. This is going to eventually knock them over, allowing us to do more damage and be able to kill them with our basic attacks. Inside the chest, we have Horn of Plenty, Voodoo Doll, and Unicorn Horn. The Horn allows us to take some more damage because we'll regen if our HP gets too low. There's also the benefit, if you have these fully stacked, to do more damage while you have regen active. Moving on, we have a Green Grimoire. We are currently level 1, that is way too low level in order to do that. Also, we have no damage that we've gotten thus far. The next objective is a Raven's Feather, which is actually a revive. Once again, that does not give us items, so we won't get powered up that way. And furthermore, it only gives us XP for the cost of $100, which I have none. So moving on past that, we have Stone Piggy, which is our objective for the map. That we also cannot do at too low of a level. I make my way over to a second green chest. This one's surrounded by piggies. Pigs at night are different from pigs in the day. If it was daytime, they would self-destruct when they die. At nighttime, they're just more aggressive. I think maybe they have a second kind of attack that they'll do. You'll notice here that I'm using my L1 button, the trait, to give us maximum runes of potency. And with those, I'm using my Frost Orb. That extends the Frost Orb's duration as well as increasing the damage it deals. It's a great way to get AoE wave clear and just leave me a 1v1 with the main pig. With that dead, we level up. We get access to Sacred Spell Defense, decreases trait cooldown, one of the best things that Merlin has. Lightning Storm also increases your Fork of Lightning. I don't usually take that because we don't want to get pigeonholed into the lightning too soon. Inside the chest, we have Dreamcatcher, Green Armor, and Eternal Rose. If you're not sure what build you want to go with just yet, think about what was in that shop earlier. We will probably want to buy those level ups, so Dreamcatcher makes a lot of sense. Next up, we have this locked chest. One thing about finding locked chests like this is you may not want to clear it if you don't know where that key is. There's a high chance that we may not ever get the key at all, which makes this sort of a time sink. However, the enemies are pretty weak. You get to see the chain lightning one time, as well as some bramble attacks. Everything else can be killed by just a basic attack. but I won't power myself up once again, even though I just cleared a camp. While I'm over here, let's go ahead and get the max HP, and then try to find some means to increase our power so we can do the green grimoire and then the pig camp. Heading over to the west side of the map, I have a yellow grimoire. This is probably way too high level for us, so I'm not going to be able to get it. There's not a lot for me to do on the map to power up, so I think we probably just throw a Hail Mary here and go for that green grimoire. Now, it is daytime, so if it ends up being pigs, they will self-destruct, which makes this a bit easier. I do have my trait, which I go ahead and pop. We are lucky that it is pigs, so I'm going to do my trait bonus Frost Orb. You can see it trying to hit as many monsters as it can. Even if it doesn't kill them, it slows the pigs down, which is very effective. I do cast Fireball in close range. Sometimes doing the Chain Lightning is just so unsafe, you may as well just do a close range fire. It gives you Ignite at the same time. But my whole goal is to just kill individual pigs so they start chaining self-destruct until we finally get all the pigs down. The reward from the grimoire: money, damage with crits, or Stars of Fate, which are rerolls. We do know there's a lot of good stuff in the shop, so chances are we're probably just going to take the Dream Shards. We're only level 2. There's not a lot that we can do on the map because the green chest is locked. Teleport back. Again, it takes you 6 seconds to teleport. Go ahead and buy our duplicate. That's going to give us a second unicorn horn. And now, once again, we don't have a lot that we can see on the map. So I'm just going to head over and try to identify anything that looks like it's in yellow territory. Red's gonna be a little bit tough, not undoable, but very, very difficult. We end up finding a wishing well. Wishing well objectives are also sort of a like sunk cost situation where you can clear the camp, but are you guaranteed to spend all your money at this wishing well? However, I'm going to go ahead and take the time to clear out this camp. Remember, the only thing in the shop that's power is the Vorpal Blade. We have currently 0 damaging items in our entire build. We found ourselves a yellow Raven's Tower. This is going to reveal some of the objectives on the map. Yellow will level us up. Let's go ahead and get some damage while we're here. Now, unfortunately, I will get to level 3 from these kills. It would have been nice to get this Ritual of Blood to get the bonus damage. It also reduces your HP down by 50%. But if I were to level up, I would have gotten all that HP back. Unfortunately, we're going to have to do it the other way around. But we do have Unicorn Horn. So once my HP drops too low, it will start to regenerate back up. And of course, Merlin has his own regen capability. We get our choice of talents. I have a new one called Celestial Wrath. Whenever you use your trait, you do an electric charge on nearby enemies. If there's less than 4 monsters, it will hit the same enemy multiple times. We already got the trait that reduces our trait cooldown by using our defenses, so we'll hopefully be able to use that very, very often. In the pig camp, as soon as I press the L1 button, you see an electric pulse goes out and then shocks multiple pigs. Ends up doing a lot of damage, clears out that camp almost by itself. And so long as I keep using my defense, we're gonna drop that cooldown even more. And that could be part of our main DPS. With the pig camp done, we do the Raven's Tower, reveal some of the map. I see there's a green Raven's Tower. We see the other lock objective, which is a mini boss. And then there's also the mirror objective, which will increase the rarity of our traits. Nothing that will actually give us items, which is very, very scary, nor is there anything that will give us money. I think it's in our best interest to go ahead and start the Stone Pig objective, because inside each of these stone mines is money. It's actually a very good source of money too. Heading into the mine, I have 52 bucks. The mine itself is protected by a bunch of treants. These are not super difficult because Merlin can play in both long range and short range. If I'm up close, I can do Bramble in order to slap them. I can do my basic attack as well. If I'm far range, I can do a mix between Chain Lightning, Frost Orb, or Fireball, and that's like a really good way to clear out all the spiders that spawn from their dead bodies. The first mine gave us a total of 11 stones, and I'm up to $117. There's actually more stones down there. I don't think there's enough to fully complete the objective, 15 stones by itself. Plus, I do want to go into the other mine anyway, so I'm not going to waste my time trying to find random stones. I do want to clear at least half of this to get as much money as I can. This other side has pigs in it. Luckily, it's daytime, so the pigs will self-destruct. While they're knocked over, I can do chain lightning in order to do damage from a safe distance. Melee them down if I have to. And we get another level here. This time, we have a choice between Sacred Strike and Frost Arcane. Frost Arcane is cool. You get to attack the Frost Orb, and it does a pulse that deals damage. However, Sacred Strike activates whenever we do our defensive maneuvers. We know we're reducing that cooldown, so let's go ahead and pump that up. I wasted a little bit of time heading back to our main camp. I'm going to level up one of our traits, that way it gives us a little bit more damage for these events. I'm down to 1 minute and 30 seconds, which is just enough time to do the Yellow Grimoire. The Yellow Grimoire by itself is a 50-second event, so we will have to clear this faster. Here it is a bunch of cultists, I think they would call this. Really, the only thing here that you have to deal with is the healer. Once the healer is dead, it's pretty simple to dodge the melee cultists. You just have to get behind them. Even if I screw it up, I have both regeneration and stone shield protect me from the damage they deal. It also seems as though the trait bonus, the electric strikes from those, it's very strong. It's able to clear some of the banshees, and that allows me to get more damage in because I don't have to move as much. The reward from the Grimoire, we have vitality, vertical damage, and then raw damage. I think just the flat damage here is the way to go because we need whatever we can get to do the Stone Pig camp. Now, usually the Stone Pig isn't that bad. It's definitely easier than Straw Pig, Straw being the absolute worst one. Stick Piggy is kind of tough as well, but depends on how much damage you have. Here, I feel like the Stone House is pretty defensive, and the monsters include cultists and healers. Those will chase after you. Compared to the other events, we have to deal with pigs exploding or treants dropping spiders on the house. With plenty of shingles and aluminum siding left on the house, we clear out this objective, get XP for it, and then our choice of a legendary object. We have 7 League Boots, Golden Coat, and Holy Grail. Now, normally you would take Holy Grail here because we are spamming defense. However, we have Unicorn Horns already. If we get all this healing from Holy Grail, those Unicorn Horns are effectively not ever active. So instead, we're gonna opt for a reroll. We have Stars of Fate, very early Philosopher's Stone, and then Ring of Dispel. Of course, Philosopher's Stone this early is giving you vitality for each individual healing orb that you pick up. I feel like that's a no-brainer. You should always take that in Act 1 if you see it. So now we have a pretty clear direction of what the build is going into. We're definitely spamming our defensive cooldowns in order to maximize our trait. Let's head over to the mirror objective. This will allow us to level up some stuff at random. I do get snared and take a massive hit, but luckily the regeneration activates. Again, if you don't think that you can dodge an attack, the stone shield from the nature's powers will actually do quite well. It doesn't make you intangible. It is a block, so you have to be careful because not everything in the game can be blocked. We choose our Vision. Vision of Enlightenment levels up 3 traits, which really I only have the 3 to choose from. So this is actually going to give us a massive power spike as we start to head deeper into the level. I run all the way to the far east side of the map. Here is a red money objective and our ultimate level up. We're going to go ahead and take Standing Stone. This one is a little bit awkward because casting the ultimate actually makes you very vulnerable. But once you do so, the stone pillar will tank damage, draw aggro, and if it dies, it explodes and does a massive chunk of damage when it does that. Again, it's very unsafe to use it, so it's not the perfect golden bullet against these really dangerous camps. But if you get the positioning right, you get very well rewarded for it. Looking at the map, I have basically my choice between doing the key objective in order to open that green chest, or heading into this final objective, which is unknown, in the top right of the map. We see that it's actually a red leprechaun's pot. This one is actually not too terrible. Even though it's red, the game is going to consider that certain enemies are probably worth more than other enemies. So it's not going to spawn like huge waves of giant spiders and whatnot. And plus, my trait, which is doing the lightning strikes, does a lot of damage when there's not a lot of enemies. So the red objective is going to spawn less enemies because it considers these very difficult. And also, my traits do more damage the less enemies there are. In the end, this ended up being like 1 spider and maybe 3 treants. And I end up netting $366 out of this, which is probably more than I could get from a green cauldron. I'm going to take this money, head over to the wishing well, and start dumping all my cash in here. The first reward, we see another dream catcher. That's an easy take because that's going to decrease the cost of the next one, which happens to be Ace of Spades. We do know that I'm doing the Sacred Strike, so it's not a bad take. Then the final one, defense gets an extra charge, ultimate cooldown, and defense cooldown. Now you could get the Adder Stone if you get 3 of them. Gives you move speed, which we probably don't need because my character has a literal teleport. Instead, we'll take the other defense, which is defense cooldown. Still works for our build, and then it gives us armor for the amount of defense we have. I finally head back to the shop to spend the rest of my money. We'll do the legendary level up, which actually hits the trait Electricity, which is sort of looking like the strongest thing in my kit. With that, we could continue going through the map if we wanted. They do have the new mechanic where you can go into overtime, but instead I go into the boss. This is the Tentacle Master Nightmare. This is always the boss of the first biome, but it gets alternate move sets depending on what shows up. This one happens to call the lightning strikes down from the sky, and then does this chain of slams. It has other versions of attacks that it could be doing instead, such as the bullet hell shots that go all throughout the arena. I'd like to say that this is maybe the best case scenario, though it is very easy to get caught by the lightning strikes that come down from the sky. Once the final tentacle is down, the boss gets stunned. I do a simple chain lightning, go into my trait form, get close, hit it with a Giga Slam, and then start spamming basic attacks. I don't really have a lot that I can do with my defense. It does decrease my cooldowns, but on the boss itself, doesn't really do anything. If I'm in between multiple tentacles, I can do my ultimate. That should hit both the tentacles and the boss, because don't forget, the boss is damageable during all of this. It just gets extra defenses, which is why you want to take out the tentacles first. With the final tentacle down, I pop my passive. I do an enhanced Fork of Lightning. Ton of damage comes out, and then just a bunch of basic attacks allows me to kill the boss. That makes for a very easy, very nice Act 1 so far. Our damage is really all towards defensive cooldowns. I don't really have an actual damaging magical object just yet. Heading into Act 2, we take a quick look at the map. I have just money and then a locked chest. We definitely seem to think this is a money game so far. Over in the shop, we have common duplicate, some level ups for traits, and then epic duplicate for $202. We definitely want to get both of these duplicates because we can hit the replica Dreamcatcher, which lowers prices, and this seems to be a money map anyway. Act 2 can sometimes be a bit difficult because it really starts to exercise your knowledge of how the character works. As you saw, I did my ultimate as soon as I came into this area and took half of my HP because we're completely vulnerable while we're doing it. We do proc the Unicorn Horn. I think they actually buffed it where the Unicorn Horn activates sooner than it used to. So that is going to be massive here. We clear out the wolves. Again, you can do stone shield to protect yourself from them. Once they're dead, we get our money. It takes us up to $162. We just need 40 more to get the second Raven Skull. Walking a little bit further, I mark a wishing well, once again not dodging the allegations that we need money to win this run. There's going to be one more objective at the top of this hill. This happens to be a Raven's Tower. This is again XP and it reveals the map. And would you believe it revealed yellow money as well as a green chest? We're still not quite at the amount that we need to be to get the duplicate, so I'm going to head all the way over to the yellow money. I will eventually have to clear out this yellow wishing well too. Let's go ahead and do that now while I'm still thinking about it. There is a teleport, so it's very easy to get back here. We also had our trait charge ready. I make the mistake of using Light Nova with the expectation that it will stop all the attacks from coming at me. These two monsters, neither of them stopped their attacks and both went for the kill. That's one more L on the notch, but we're not done yet. It only used one Raven's Feather. Of course, the map did reveal a Raven's Feather, so I will be able to get that back. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and make a purchase. Inside is Horn of Plenty, Ogre Blood, which gives us damage based on Vitality, and of course the Moon Stone. Now, Moon Stone is already giving us +6 damage compared to the Ogre's Blood. So we're going to take that and then head over to the money objective. This is probably one of my most annoying fights to deal with. It's multiple birds. The fire ones, the fire eggs on the ground, will spawn into other phoenixes. And those are very, very tough to kill. We level up and get the choice between Arcane Shield and Lightning Storm. I'm going to re-roll because now that we have Moonstone, we should probably start searching for anything that says defense. We hit Fire Barrage. Fire Barrage allows our Fireball spell to send out additional fire missiles. This is even good if you're close range, and we already saw that doing Chain Lightning is awful. So I'm going to take the Fireball, test it out here. Right now it's doing okay damage. Not the best, but it's going to be better than me ever doing the Chain Lightning. Of course, there is still Frost Orb, but there's nothing wrong with using Frost Orb. Also, keep in mind that Sacred Strike gives us a Rune of Potency. Each rune is going to give us an extra fire missile. With the birds dead, we get our cash. And then we have to move on to the next objective. I'm sort of in a weird spot where I can't access the middle of the map, so I'm gonna walk all the way down, head towards the Raven's Feathers so we have enough money to get a revive back. It only cost us 80 bucks. That's really not bad. Head over to the green chest. Here is a mix between birds and crabs. I'm just gonna use my ulti here. The crabs have 99 defense, but only until you knock them over. There is one healer, which kind of cancels out everything I've done thus far. One fireball does about half its HP and damage, but so long as this thing stays alive, I'm not going to be able to kill anything. So with that, we just pop our trait, get the lightning strikes, which does like 180 damage each. Very, very big numbers. One chain lightning to just see how it feels on a knockdown phoenix. And with that dead, we get the choice of magical objects. There's another moonstone. Leprechaun coin would be nice, but we need to stack these moonstones now because each one of these is raw damage. And wouldn't you know it, just yet another damage objective. This one's surrounded by cultists. One ult, while they're all stacked on each other, is going to do quick work of this. I think the ult itself helps to clear out some of the money, which makes, I mean, technically some time savings for me. I am now up to $437, which is pretty big. This happens to be, oh wow, yellow money. This one is 2 snakes and then maybe a cultist or something. These are sometimes difficult depending on the time of day. I believe their attacks are different, but if it's just 2 snakes, I feel like it's not that big a deal. Even if I take damage, remember we do have regeneration later. With the snakes down, I get the massive cash out. This takes us from 437 up to 593. But again, no teleports. And one thing that I like to say that you should be doing in this game is before you leave to teleport back to base or to the next objective, you should probably make sure there is a teleport where you came from. Most likely there's more things to do, such as this camp here, which is surrounded by cultists. multiple healers. I aggro a spider. I don't know why I wanted to keep going. I thought I could maybe leash, but instead all I'm gonna do is aggro more stuff. That happens to be a red chest down there, and still no teleport, which is so strange. I'm gonna go ahead and head up, because I think this has to be an objective for the teleport. We'll kill outside the camp, because funny enough, those NPCs will die if you fight on top of them. This is a bunch of gems. Very, very easy to take out, especially with our lightning passive. The first refugee wants my money for 10 vitality. That, even though we have a need for vitality, we already have Philosopher's Stone, so that's a pass. This is $161 to upgrade 2 traits. I think that's actually worth it. I don't know how much savings that is. It's probably like a 10 gold savings. But we get 50 bucks back, so let's go ahead and do that. Teleport up to Wishing Well and start getting more damage. Another Ace of Spades, a King of Clubs, or a Cryptic Prophecy. I don't think we're going to be able to do Cryptic Prophecy this run. Maybe if I was a little bit closer to maxing out the Dreamcatcher. I re-roll and hit Unicorn Horn. One more to have that fully maxed out. Final object, we get the other Raven Skull. Defense cooldowns are going to be massive here. I still don't have the 202 to unlock the Raven Skull, so instead I do the Common Duplicate. It hits the Moonstone, which is again more damage. Let's grab this money while we're here, and then start heading over to the rest of the objectives. I still don't know where the key is, so clearing out the green camp seems like a waste of time until that key shows up. We have another mirror event, which is just going to level up my talents even more. It's protected by a bunch of crabs. However, we know that we have really good ways to knock them over. A combination of Light Nova and Fireball does quick work of any crabs. I get my level up, hitting enemies with arcane spells, which is the special, gives you a rune of potency. That makes it so that every fireball gives me a rune, which is very interesting. I don't think it's self-synergy, where like the fireballs get extra fireballs and then make extra fireballs themselves. It seems to be like on initial cast, it gets the bonus. Vision of Enlightenment does give us the level ups. We now have Legendary Sacred Strike, and the Fireball also leveled up a little bit. I finally make my way down to Sinbad's event. This, if it's in the cave, is guaranteed to be the Cyclops. Cyclops, not that bad of a fight while solo. All you have to do is make sure to dodge the grab, because that will heal him. Inside are 2 sets of monsters to kill before you actually fight the boss. One is a mix of cultists and djinns. There's also a healer in here. Make sure that that's not just going to stay and heal all of the monsters to full. Make sure to also grab the money that's in here as well. Again, money is going to do quite a bit of work in this run, I think. The second set of monsters can be quite difficult. One fireball on the main djinn does only half its HP. I'm using my stone shield to block all the incoming bullets. If you struggle with doing the bullet hell, just do stone shield. In the meantime, we're trying to like break their defenses by doing Light Nova, weaving in basic attacks, which is going to give us a rune of potency. And then finally, you finish them off with the lightning trait as well as some fireballs, and then it's time to fight the Cyclops. The Cyclops fight could be annoying. I would say it's more of a check of patience. Of course, if you have a lot of damage, then maybe it's not all that patient for you. But what I have to do here is I have to make sure we get the knock on him. We have to make sure we dodge all grabs, because just one grab might be a loss because he heals. With one knock, I do the lightning just to get like a damage check. It maybe did 5% of his HP and damage, so I'll probably start trying to do fireballs instead. Remember, fireball does its maximum damage from far away, so whenever I use my trait, I am walking backward or using my blink to teleport backward and then do damage that way. Teleport backward, one fireball. With the ignite, maybe it does about the same thing as a lightning. With the Cyclops knocked over, I actually do quite a bit of damage with Chain Lightning. It's still kind of hard to tell which is going to do the maximum DPS between the fireballs and the lightning. The reward for the win gives us Father times Hourglass, reduce cooldowns even further. You could go with the Vitality if you don't know what the build is, but by now you should have it solidified. We get our level up. We have the choice between Life Seed and Natural Harmony. Both are very good healing options. I don't think we need healing with all the unicorn horns, so I'm going to re-roll, and we get offered Elemental Affinity. That's giving us crit rate for monsters that have Ignite or Chilled. Of course, Ignite is coming from Fireball, and I would imagine that the mini Fireballs have crit rate once the initial big Fireball hits the monster. Alright, let's head over to the red chest that I had avoided earlier. This one's full of cultists, however, I do have really good damage now. A mix between our lightning traits as well as Fireball. We're able to find a bunch of cultists with a snake in here, which of course can summon the boss objective, which are these basically bombs on the floor. Not anything that's like particularly deadly for me. If so, then we just pop regeneration from Unicorn Horn anyway. Notice I almost died during my ultimate, which once again proves to be sort of a skill check. For some reason, this snake respawned. I'm not exactly sure why that is. It's almost like it leashed away from me and then had to go back. So I did lose some time having to fight this again. Very unfortunate, but with it dead, we open up the red chest. Inside, Joker card, Raven's Eye, Raven's Beak. I could re-roll. However, keep in mind that we want to do the duplicate from the shop. So if I were to buy something now, the chances of me doing the duplicate and hitting the Raven's Skull is actually less. So I'm going to teleport back, which is a little bit of a waste of time, but it is what it is. We finish off the Raven's Skull, and now I have to teleport and walk all the way back, because once again, no teleport along the way. At the red chest, I go ahead and pick up the Raven's Beak. This is starting to shape up to be not only the lightning trait, but also Fireball. And this is going to allow us to spam Fireball more often. With 5 seconds left, I'm going to go ahead and activate this red Grimoire. Of course, the new mechanic in Ravenswatch is that you can go into overtime by up to 3 minutes, I believe. Typically, I don't spend the whole 3 minutes. I'll just do whatever objective is right next to me, especially if it has guaranteed rewards from it. If it was, for example, double key, I wouldn't be able to use those double keys on this map unless I also do those events. So the red Grimoire is kind of a one and done. It was just 2 tentacle monsters and then a Jin. Very, very easy. The reward for that is big crit chance. You know, we already have crit on enemies with Ignite, so anything that gets us as close to 100% as possible. We're gonna go ahead into the boss fight. This is another variant boss. This is the Faceless Nightmare. The variant of this one is it fires out this lightning strike and then goes underground and forces a bunch of bombs to pop up. Now, typically the bombs aren't that big a deal, but every once in a while, especially if you're using the lightning, like the chain lightning from Merlin, and you're standing still, those bombs are gonna absolutely destroy you. We can use our ulti directly in front of the boss. It doesn't always go for the pillar, but it's very good at defeating these, which is kind of like the boss is going in phases. If we kill these adds, the boss falls over, loses its defenses, and we get to do our DPS phase. Killing these is about as easy as 1 fireball. I don't think 1 sacred strike is enough to kill them. However, it does do a really good amount of damage. With the boss knocked over, look at all these bombs. Just completely stopping all of my DPS. Close range fireball, couple of sacred strikes, couple of bramble vines, does about 25% of its HP. The boss is now down to half. Of course, all throughout this time, it's taking real damage to its health bar. It's just reduced because it has armor. With the last eyeball down, I pop my trait, do a close range fireball, and then just start meleeing this thing to death. couple of Sacred Strikes, more long-range fireballs, just trying to get my trait back. It's gonna die. Like, it's not like we have one more of those phases to go through, but I am trying to maximize my DPS because Merlin is also about, like, learning a rotation and making sure that you don't make too many mistakes, because every mistake that you do could cost you the run. We're now into the third act, the final boss before the final boss. Here's a look at the map. It's more money and no objectives close to me. Common duplicate, fairy dust. We have a cursed object, which increases our vitality but reduces our healing. It sounds interesting, but I don't think we need to do that kind of gameplay. And then upgrade a talent to legendary. Definitely have to do that because we'll probably get all of our talents maxed out by the end of this area. So let's go ahead and start walking. We're gonna head to the east first. Green Grimoire. Ravenswatch is sometimes deceptively evil because the very first Green Grimoire objective could still be very difficult. Like, look, there are a lot of dogs here for us to get through. I'm gonna pop my ulti immediately. Doesn't kill the main, like, gray wolves. I get caught, but Stone Shield does a good job of keeping us safe. Pop my regeneration. With the last wolf down, we get our reward, which is the choice between money, crit hit damage, and Stars of Fate. We do have double money coming up soon, but as I said, we'll probably buy out the entire shop, so it's a good idea to just get all the money we can. Now let's head over to the west. We're coming up on the gargoyle camp. I can clearly see lots of gargoyles here. They're probably all gonna follow me in. I'm gonna lead with a fireball and my ult from as far away as possible. Don't really want to go in there because they do a lot of damage around themselves, regardless of what their target is. They're just, like, constantly doing AoE. This happens to be a Raven's Tower, which, to be fair, it's, like, not the strongest objective for final map because these are very positioned in a way that you'll probably hit everything if you try hard enough. Somehow I did not aggro this gargoyle in the back, or did it respawn? I have no idea. But now it's a 1v1, me versus him. Basic attacks, run away, do fireball. Fireball right now is doing like 25% of a gargoyle's HP if it has armor. So again, we're not doing like a crazy amount on just a regular gargoyle, but we're still gonna level this up when we finish off our traits. We got the XP from that. We revealed the two areas I was gonna go to anyway. Leprechaun's Cauldron and a green chest. We can grab this blood ritual along the way. Our damage numbers, we're sitting at 50 attack power. It's hard to say if that's like above average or below average, but right now, as long as monsters are dying, I assume we are either on pace or above pace. Leprechaun's Cauldron, I immediately use my ulti. No idea where the monsters are gonna spawn. I don't necessarily care where they're gonna spawn. You could wait out like a half a second to see the summoning circles and then drop it. But for right now, because this is like just back to back to back to back on gargoyles, I know I'm gonna do damage because these things are just attacking constantly. The level up here, we're level 9, so this is the last of our choices of talents. We ended up getting Sacred Ground, which allows our blink to put down an area. While I'm in that area, I get extra damage. This is also a defense buff, so it's going to increase our damage from the Moonstones. Unfortunately, the green Leprechaun events, for some reason, take the longest compared to yellow and red. I have no idea why. So after killing the last gargoyle, I'm only going to get $100 out of it. Not like super impressive, but I mean, it's $100 I didn't have beforehand. Let's head over to the green chest. Once again, more dogs. I get trapped, so I stone shield myself to make sure I don't die from it. I'm also aggroing a bunch of witches, which normally would be a good time, but in Ravenswatch, this could get you killed. Another ulti. I'm pretty sure it does not get enhanced by me putting down the blink zone. So I have to just stand back, let the wolves howl, and then finally go in with any fireballs I happen to get. Open up the chest, and inside we have Ogre's Blood, Vajra, and Dragon Hide. I feel like Ogre's Blood is a good amount of damage. Vajra we're definitely not gonna do because we have nothing in our kit that supports dashing. So Ogre's Blood it is. The new Dragon Hide is actually very good. You can get a lot of armor from that. I feel like I already have a lot of armor thanks to the the Raven skulls I have. But right now, I think we're okay. We have cleared basically the first floor of this act. Let's head up into the next floor. One thing that you can always check if you can do is, can you burst down a statue of Gargoyle before it transforms? Typically, you do that by breaking its defenses, which is using Light Nova. But as you can clearly see, my Light Nova is not good enough to take out this, like, I guess, Giga version of the Gargoyle, or maybe a tier 2 Gargoyle. So if anything, maybe we can only do those on the basic baby Gargoyle to get extra money out of it. However, we know we're gonna get plenty of cash up here being defended by these, not really Doulahans. I guess they're just armor guys. I'm not sure if they have, you know, a human inside of it. But these fights are not easy. Because they have both long range and close range damage. I'm lucky I have regen and armor, or else I'd be completely shredded by these things. But really how you should play it is you run backwards with Blink, drop a fireball. They actually destroyed the objective themselves. That's how strong they are. Technically I could run away, but I'm already here. For the sake of argument, we should just kill them. They can also heal themselves if you don't play properly. But I think the right way to do this is to use Blink to reposition, and then don't use your dodge, like your actual circle button dodge, unless you have to avoid damage. Actually, take a L here. I lose one of my Raven's feathers. I just happen to get grazed by the screen-wide swipe this thing's doing. As I said, even though we feel strong, even though we have all this armor, Act 3 is not a joke. I'm gonna go ahead and teleport back. That objective gave us a lot of money, so it's now time to cash in. We're gonna be leveling up talents. We're gonna get the common duplicate, which hits Moonstone. That's a damage bonus for us. The legendary increase hits elemental affinity. That gets us the maximum amount of crit on ignited targets. And now from here, I don't really care for fairy dust, so I'm just gonna pump up individual talents until we feel confident that we're doing the maximum amount of damage possible. Fire barrage is a big deal, so we're gonna max that out and then head over to the second money objective. I have to run by a bunch of junk to get here. Start the fight out with fireball. It does 75% of one cultist HP bar, which is pretty good. I take a giga ton of damage trying to put down my ulti. Of course, Merlin has 2 ults. The other one is Forbidden Spells, where you get Cataclysm, which is like a giant meteor that you can call down. You can buff your basic attack, or you can sacrifice your own HP to deal damage to all enemies around you. It's very fun stuff, but right now, I want to test out the original ulti, since I'm sure some people may not like it. I feel like I'd rather showcase that. We're in the West, Tier 2. We found a yellow chest surrounded by dogs. These 3 dogs, as a matter of fact, it's like kind of annoying because as they're in the air, I do believe they are invulnerable. So my lightning strikes, my light nova, all of that stuff is missing. I get 1 knock, try to do a close range fireball, back up, do it instead. As long as you're moving and not wasting dashes, I think it's not that big of a deal. We get our final level up, Energy Stone. Now our ulti sends out pulses of damage whenever it gets hit. Open up the yellow chest, and inside is King of Clubs, Ace of Spades, and yet again another Raven Beak. We already have this thing maxed. Oh, we don't have Raven's Beak maxed out. I was thinking of the Raven Skull. And look at this. Yellow Wishing Well. I told you this was going to be a money run. It's funny because the way how Ravenswatch plays out, you would think that it's, you know, pretty samey. You do the exact same kind of gameplay every time. But the objectives are going to fundamentally change how you think about what to go for and what not to go for. Of course, the ultimate goal is to get all objectives in every biome. But unless you're, like, very lucky or get giga stacked, that's probably not going to happen. We finished off our Moonstone with a lucky grab from the Wishing Well. I am relatively close to the event on the map. I believe this one is the new version of the Morgan event. But first, along the way there, I find a refugee camp. I'm gonna get some strength, though this would have been good for the boss if I left it. I can't, like, as soon as you click them, I don't believe you can back out. So I just went ahead and got the strength right now because we're gonna take it into the event space. Just gotta get through some more wolves. I think one of the easiest ways to get through this is to use Stone Shield more often than Bramble. If you have Bramble leveled up, that's an effect where you do like a swipe around yourself. It does bonus damage on that ability. It's actually quite strong. I feel like if you don't have that leveled up, using Stone Shield as a defensive maneuver might actually be the way to go, because I'm using my defenses just to put Blink on the map. So inside, we have Mordred's quest. We have to reach Morgan before she's defeated. She has a health bar in the top right. I get to drop my ulti in basically each one of these areas. And the Lightning Strike does 1,000 damage to one living armor. There's another monster that spawns ads though, which is a little bit annoying. One fireball is not enough to take it out. Of course, these do have armor. If you had vulnerability in your build, for example, dashing through enemies does vulnerable, that might be able to get one shot from fireball. But otherwise, we have cooldown reduction. It doesn't take that much energy to get another fireball out. We go deeper in, collecting money along the way. We have to fight another wave of monsters. I tried some long-range fireballs, which does half the thing's HP. One final door to break through, and a little bit of cash for my efforts. I guess if you like fail this event, then at least you got some money for it. And we have the fight versus Mordred. I've only done this fight maybe 2 times ever, because this is one of the newest pieces of content they added to the game. Mordred has a bunch of dashes that it does. It has big AoE slams that hit in a massive line ahead of itself. It leaves a damaging area that you can't step into. But a mix between fireballs, lightning strikes, and then the light nova makes quick work of this thing. I think the crits on ignited targets is working on the miniature fireballs, which makes them do really good damage. The reward are legendaries. We got Excalibur, Water of Life, and then Coat. We're of course taking that legendary damage because I will be leveling up most of my stuff. Let's head back to the shop and do that right now. We have mostly everything leveled up. Keep in mind that there is one more shop after this biome, right before the final boss. So if I don't manage to get everything leveled up here, I might be able to do it in the next biome. We just have to make sure we get as much money as we can off the map. And with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, events like this locked box, as nice as they would be, I can't really do it without finding the key. Things like this, money, is more important and allows us to level up our talents, which in turn gives us damage from Excalibur. These are some of the hardest enemies in the game, and stacking them all together with this witch has to be like top 10 most annoying things a dev could do. The witch by itself is kind of difficult for Merlin because as she's flying around, I feel like his attacks are pretty slow to get out, or they leave him in a dangerous position. So I have to wait for her to fly and then I get to do my attack. We found Raven's Feather. That's going to cost us $80 to get a revive. Probably worth it, even though I could have used that money towards getting a legendary talent. And then over here, I expected there to be one more event, but honestly, I don't see one. So that must mean that is the entirety of the events in the red portion of the map. So all I have left is one yellow event, maybe 2, that's right at the top of these stairs. Honestly, it takes me a little bit too long to get here, so I end up finding only 30 seconds left. I'm gonna spend that time to try to get this, which is the Blood Shrine. I do have regen available, so even though this thing will drop me down to 1 HP, I think I'm going to heal back up to half. Let's take a look. Yeah, regeneration active. I can use my own regeneration too once it's done. I don't want to double up because I think the unicorn horn might stop prematurely. But I'm back up to full HP. Use my ulti. This is probably the last event we're gonna do, and it happens to be money, which is very good. With the final monster gone, we're up to $484. We do still have Wishing Well available. We're gonna level up our stuff to get to Legendary, because each one of these is damage. I only have $127 left. So with that money, let's go ahead and check the Wishing Well. For 121 bucks, I get Dragon Hide or Jack of Diamonds. Jack of Diamonds is special damage, which we actually are spamming. So now we go straight into the boss. There's not really much for the map I want to continue to milk, unless I happen to find the key. This boss is sometimes the roadblock for most people learning the game. You're fighting against essentially two bosses at the same time. They have to die at the same time. And you end up in a situation where you are dodging one while trying to attack the other, or you're not attacking anything at all because you think you can only dodge. However, the balance of this game, there are some specific downtimes where you can put in damage, but for the most part, you are always doing the dance of, this is my character's kit, I'm using its dodges, I'm using its invulnerability, I'm using its blocks in order to do damage while also mitigating damage. This variation of the boss has this rotating laser beam, which honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I also feel like my build is a little bit single target focused, so I'm putting in a lot of fireballs into the left side claw, getting it down to half. I need to really focus on that right side claw. The only way to tell the difference between which one is which is because their stagger meter doesn't go away. Once they are staggered, they'll glow golden, and you know that the golden one is the one with lower HP. My ulti also does a very good job here because you can put it on the boss with the higher HP, and you expect it to do maximum damage that way. At this point, it doesn't really matter who gets damaged. As soon as one of them dies, the other is going to become vulnerable, and then you have to spend as much damage as you can, killing it before the other one revives. I don't know if this move is some kind of DPS check or an enrage. Once again, it's something that I'm definitely not used to. It's a very annoying move. Technically, if you throw a fireball in there, they're kind of stacked on each other, so you could easily get a double hit in. But I'm going to take this very, very safely. I screw up my stone shield. That ice orb was supposed to be stone shield. Take an L for it. We still have another feather left, so I'm not overly concerned about it. They're about to prepare another dance of lightning, but my passive is able to pop one of them. The other one falls down. Can't really tell which one is which, so I just toss out a random fireball, and I happen to hit the right one, which is great. So with them defeated, we now head into the epilogue. The first thing you get is some money for your efforts. We're gonna have one single shop to work with. Probably not a lot we can buy with only $100. Inside the shop, we have Common Duplicate, which could hit the Moonstone. Otherwise, we would level up Energy Stone. I'm going to do that instead of going for the 50-50. And now it's time to head into the first phase of the final boss. The final boss of Ravenswatch is Baba Yaga. This is the witch that basically like pulls your story into this book. In which case, like, you're the hero, but Baba Yaga is ultimately the villain. This fight consists of a bunch of summons. Each one is a portion of the house's HP bar. So essentially, all you have to do is kill each of these, which then splits into other ones. It's not that terrible of a fight for Merlin, so long as you don't get yourself stuck in an AoE. And I feel like the only way that would happen if you're using Chain Lightning. Otherwise, Fireball, Stone Shield, all of that stuff is like very safe gameplay. Doesn't really require you to put yourself in harm's way. With the final ads defeated, the doors to the house open up and we go straight in. This is the fight with Baba Yaga, phase 2, I guess. Is versus 3 sets of skulls. The first ones have high HP and they dash towards you. You're essentially killing them to reduce the HP of the boss and then go into the next phase. However, there's a couple of things you have to dodge here. You can see this big AoE come out, which just requires you to dodge out of the way. I think that can be iframe through, but I don't think it's blockable. And I'm not really willing to test it out for you, I'm sorry. This wave that comes out is blockable, it is iframeable. That one is a lot safer. less chance to die. These set of skulls just do rotating lasers. Each one of them has lower HP than the red ones. The final skulls, and this is randomized, by the way. You can get any order of skulls. I just happen to get this one. The green ones, in my opinion, are the most difficult. They leave constant poison clouds on the ground. Each one fires out a wave of poison that requires, like, meticulous dodging to get through. One fireball, I think, is enough to kill them. However, it's still a big deal because you're constantly walking through damage, and I don't really want to spend my defenses on regeneration, or else that happens where I just get hit anyway. I take out the last skull. That one gets killed by just Sacred Strike, which is doing a lot of damage at this point, especially if you're inside the blink field. And now Baba Yaga is gonna fight us hand to hand, a little CQC. For Merlin, this is technically a good way to just do like long-range barrage gameplay. However, this boss actually shoots you back. And if you're unlucky, you might actually just tank a billion bullets because you think that you are just safe from max range. I'll drop my ulti. I highly doubt it'll do much. It, of course, is damage, but the boss doesn't really go for it like the ads do in like most of the biomes that we've seen thus far. However, all I really need to do is spam fireballs. At this point, I am a fireball mage. I've lost all of my sense of frost and lightning. I don't want to do anything but fireball. Really, the only way you would fail this is if you forget about your defensive options. Remember, we have blink and we have stone shield. If I were to do chain lightning, for example, and just eat all these bullets, I'm probably gonna die. In the last half of Baba Yaga's HP, she does start to summon tentacle ads. If they aren't in a terrible position, you can probably leave them where they are. Just sometimes you will have to take care of them, or else you're gonna get bombarded by slams. I happen to use stone shield because I'm losing confidence in like maintaining composure in this fight. Merlin is a very composure-based character. The more mistakes you make using your kit, the worse the gameplay is gonna be. She almost got me with that slam because her purple slash actually removes one of your abilities for like 10 seconds or so. But we're able to get the kill with a 2,500 damage Sacred Strike at the end. I kind of wish I had gotten crit damage at some point, but I do think the crit hit rate was doing massively in this run. With Baba Yaga done, that is a completed run of Ravenswatch. I hope you enjoyed this Zero to Hero experience. Merlin is a fantastic character, one of the best that they've made. In fact, he plays so differently from everyone else. I think just for fun factor, he is extremely fun. If you like this video, leave a like on it, subscribe for more roguelikes and other Zero to Heroes we'll do in the future. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you next time. Alright, thanks for watching today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I like to get you all the best content that I can. If you want to take a moment, like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, ring the bell notifications so you can get those. You could also consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. All of those are links which are in the description. Just scroll down and you'll see them. Either way, thanks for joining in, and I'll catch you on the next video.